lesson objectives. This lesson discusses Ceylan, Philippines law and policies for protection of rights of members of LGBTQ. Also, it explains the Ceylan anti-discriminatory laws and policies. At the end of this class, you should be able to first determine the various Philippines laws and policies for protection of rights of members of LGBTQ. Next, identify the different anti-discriminatory laws and policies and know the acts leading to violation of these law and policies. But before that, let's define first the equal protection. So, equal protection requires that all persons or things similarly situated should be treated alike both as to rights conferred and responsibility imposed. Equal protection for LGBTQ community is a crucial aspect of human rights. It means that individuals who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or queer should be treated the same as everyone else under the law. This includes the right to marry, adopt children, work, and live without fear of discrimination or violence. It also means that they should have the same responsibility as everyone else, like paying taxes or saving on the jury. Equal protection ensures that no one is denied their rights or given unfair responsibilities based on their sexual orientation or gender identity. It's a fundamental principle of fairness and justice and it's essential for creating a society where everyone, including those in the LGBTQ, can live freely and openly. However, it's important to note that while many countries have made significant progress in ensuring equal protection for the LGBTQ community, there's still a long way to go. Discrimination and violence against LGBTQ individuals still occur, and in some places, legal protection are lacking or fully enforced. So while we celebrate the progress that's been made, we must also continue to strive for fully, equally, and protection for all, regardless of sexual orientation or gender identity. Next is due process. Principles that the government must be respect all of a person's legal rights, as this ensure that all laws and legal proceedings must be fair and equal for all. It means that they have the right to a fair trial, legal representation, and protection for arbitrary action by the government. It ensures their fundamental rights are respected. Introduction: the 1987 Constitution, Equal Protection and Due Process Clause. The 1987 Philippines Constitution states that the state values the dignity of every human person and guarantees full respect for human rights. Apart from this, the 1987 Constitution enshrines in its due process equal protection clauses that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall any person be denied the equal protection of the laws. Article 3, Section 1, 1987 Philippines Constitution. At the fundamental law of the land, the guarantees of equality, lawful processes, and the paramount consideration on ensuring human dignity and respect for human rights in this provision serve as the basis for the protection of the rights of members of the LGBTQ. Violence and discrimination. Despite of widespread anecdotal evidence of crimes perpetrated against the LGBTQ community in the Philippines, most data on these cases have not undergone official verification and collation. In March 2016, the Trans Murder Monitoring Project listed 41 reported cases of transgender people murdered in the country since 2008. Violence and discrimination against the LGBTQ community in the Philippines are pressing issues that require attention and action. While there is a widespread anecdotal evidence of crimes committed against LGBTQ individuals, it is unfortunate but most of this data has not undergone official verification and collusion. This lack of official documentation makes it challenging to fully understand the scope and extent of the violence and the discrimination faced by LGBTQ community. However, in March 2016, the Trans Murder Monitoring Project shed light on the alarming situation by listing 41 reported cases of transgender people being murdered in the Philippines since 2008. This data highlights the tragic reality of the violence and targeted attacks that transgender individuals face in the country. It is crucial to acknowledge that violence and discrimination against the LGBTQ community are severe human rights violations. This act not only harm individuals but also perpetuate a climate of fear and inequality. Efforts should be made to address and combat this issue through various means including education, awareness campaign, and legal reforms and support services for victims. By promoting inclusivity, acceptance, and understanding, we can work towards a society where violence and discriminations against the LGBTQ community are eradicated. It is essential for individuals, communities, and the government to come together to create a safe and support environment for all.
Once again, good afternoon everyone. My name is Rowena Villadama. So I'm the one who will continue the discussion. Violence and discrimination against LGBTQ plus youth in education. A Anti-Bullying Act of 2013, Republic Act 1062-7. It includes gender-based bullying as a prohibited and punishable act. Gender-based bullying is defined as any act that humiliates or excludes a person on the basis of perceived or actual sexual orientation and gender identity, or SOGI, Republic Act number 1062-7. So here, it emphasizes preventing and responding to bullying, including cyberbullying, in educational institutions, including gender-based bullying, as what I said earlier, which humiliates or excludes individuals based on their sexual orientation and gender identity. So the aims and the purpose of this Republic Act 1062-7 is to ensure that the pupils can flourish and be educated in a safe and supported environment. So, what is the 2012 Child Protection Policy? The policy was adopted by the Department of Education, or DepEd, to help the agencies involved in the children's rehabilitation and to offer special protection to children who are gravely threatened or endangered by circumstances that affect their normal development and over which they have no control. So, in cases where the bullying is committed by a principal, teacher, or any school or any other school personnel, the law being violated is Department of Education Order Number 40 on Child Protection Policy. This policy includes the protection of students from any form of violence regardless of their sexual orientation and gender identity. What does the Child Protection Policy aim to protect? So, the best interests and rights of children, putting the child's needs first in any situation involving confirmed or suspected child abuse, empowering and instructing kids on their rights, personal safety, and what to do in the event of an emergency. C. Spatial protection of children against child abuse exploitation, Discrimination Act of 1992, or the Anti-Child Abuse Act, or Republic Act 7610. So, parents of children who suffer abuse at the hands of teachers or members of the school's administration violates the Republic Act 7610 or the Anti-Child Abuse Act. Such cases can cover instances of physical, psychological injury, or cruelty on the basis of the child's SOGI. So here, it provides protection against abuse, commercial, sexual exploitation, trafficking, and employment in illicit activities. The crimes against children, including the conceived but unborn child as provided for by the revised Penal Code and other pertinent laws. So, the violence and discriminations against LGBTQ+ in the workplace. So here, the Labor Code of the Philippines, or the Presidential Decree 442. So here, the state shall afford protection to labor, promote full employment, ensure equal work opportunities regardless of sex, race, or creed, and regulate the relations between workers and employers. So the importance of this presidential decree, so this is to help protect employees and employers while ensuring that neither is subject to unfair treatment or exploitation. So the Labor Code is the national law covering employment for the private sector in the Philippines, with the exception of prohibitions against discriminations of women. It does not contain any provision that prohibits discrimination on the basis of the gender identity, particularly on the members of the LGBTQ+. So, nonetheless, while the law is quiet on gender identity and expression, it is clear in its Declaration of Policy Article 3 that the state shall afford protection to labor, promote full employment, ensure equal work opportunities. Clearly, the mandate for equal opportunity in employment is clear, but the reality shows a different picture since members of the LGBTQ+ encounter hardship in accessing work opportunities because of discrimination. The absence of a national law that explicitly prohibits discrimination on the basis of the gender identity makes it easier for employers to hide behind fabricated reasons for not accepting, firing, or depriving members of the LGBTQ+ of their employment benefits. Often, policies on uniform, documents, and use of comfort rooms are used against members of the LGBTQ+ employees and even applicants. So the B, or the CSC number 010940, the Civil Service Commissions. So policy on the anti-sexual harassment, the Civil Service Commission administrative disciplinary rules on sexual harassment cases includes other less grave, punishable offense. These include prohibiting derogatory and degrading remarks or in none thus directed toward the members of one sex or one sexual orientation or used to describe a person. So this rule applies to all government entities that fall under the civil service jurisdiction. The policy is important because it explicitly covered derogatory remarks regarding sex, sexual orientation, or other remarks that are used as description of a person with the intention to insult. In addition, this policy for government agencies does not require that the offender has moral ascendancy over the victim. The fact that the perpetrator and the victim are of the same level of or position will not preclude the victim from filing a case, while gender identity is not specifically mentioned as a ground. If a LGBTQ plus civil servant is harassed verbally by co-workers, they would be able to rely on the generic protection from derogatory and degrading remarks. So this means the Safe Space Act addresses these gaps by recognizing the sexual harassment can be committed between peers or by subordinate to a superior officer. So we have here our application or the assessment. So the number 1, why do we need to protect and promote the rights of the members of the LGBTQ+? Then the second one is, what can you do further the protection and protection of the members of the LGBTQ+ at home, in school, and in your community? Thank you for listening.